Joan Park couldn't sleep. The strange noises from his wardrobe had been going on for 10 minutes now. At first, he thought it might be the building settling or perhaps the neighbor's cat had somehow gotten in. But as the rustling continued, a cold sweat broke out across his forehead. Living alone in his small Seoul apartment meant any unexpected sound was cause for concern, especially at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. He reached for his phone, then thought better of it. Who would he call? The police? They'd think he was crazy reporting wardrobe noises. Instead, he grabbed the baseball bat he kept beside his bed, a souvenir from his university days when he briefly played on the school team. The wooden floorboards creaked as he approached the wardrobe. The rustling stopped momentarily, then resumed, more frantic than before. June tightened his grip on the bat. "Hello," he called, his voice cracking slightly. "Is someone there?" Silence. Taking a deep breath, he reached for the wardrobe door. In one swift motion, he yanked it open and raised his bat. What he saw made him stumble backward, nearly tripping over his nightstand. Crouched among his shirts and winter coats was something impossible. The creature had blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. 4 arms were wrapped protectively around its slender body. Delicate antennae sprouted from its head, twitching nervously. But most striking were its eyes, large, pearlescent orbs that reflected the room like opals. "Please," the creature said in perfect Korean. "I mean no harm." June's bat clattered to the floor. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "I apologize for the intrusion," the creature continued, slowly unfolding itself from the wardrobe. She, June thought, though he wasn't sure how he knew, stood about a head shorter than him. Her movements were graceful despite her obvious tension. Who are you?" June finally managed to ask. The alien bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Neri of the Viridian Conclave, 3rd diplomatic representative to Solar System Sector 4B. She looked up at him with those mesmerizing eyes. "And I require asylum." June laughed nervously. "This is a joke, right? Did Hyun put you up to this? The makeup is amazing." Nari tilted her head. "I assure you, this is no joke. Your friend Hyun is not involved." "How do you know about Hyun?" "I don't. I simply repeated the name you mentioned." June backed away until he hit his bed and sat down hard. "You're really an alien." "Yes. And I am in grave danger." Over the next hour, as the initial shock wore off, Neri explained her situation. She had been part of a diplomatic mission to Earth, one of several monitoring the planet before official first contact. During her assignment, she had discovered corruption within the Viridian government, plans that would harm Earth. "When I voiced my concerns, my superiors tried to silence me," she explained. "I had no choice but to flee. Your dwelling seemed unoccupied during day cycles, so I took refuge here." June rubbed his temples. "Why not go to our government? Surely they'd want to know about alien visitors." "Your governments are not ready. The shock would be problematic, and my people would deny everything." As dawn approached, June's practical nature took over. "What happens now? You can't stay in my wardrobe forever." Neri looked uncomfortable. "There is another complication. According to Viridian custom, by discovering my hiding place without prior arrangement, you have enacted the first rite of union." "The what now?" Joan Park couldn't sleep. The strange noises from his wardrobe had been going on for 10 minutes now. At first, he thought it might be the building settling or perhaps the neighbor's cat had somehow gotten in. But as the rustling continued, a cold sweat broke out across his forehead. Living alone in his small Seoul apartment meant any unexpected sound was cause for concern, especially at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. He reached for his phone, then thought better of it. Who would he call? The police? They'd think he was crazy reporting wardrobe noises. Instead, he grabbed the baseball bat he kept beside his bed, a souvenir from his university days when he briefly played on the school team. The wooden floorboards creaked as he approached the wardrobe. The rustling stopped momentarily, then resumed, more frantic than before. June tightened his grip on the bat. "Hello," he called, his voice cracking slightly. "Is someone there?" Silence. Taking a deep breath, he reached for the wardrobe door. In one swift motion, he yanked it open and raised his bat. What he saw made him stumble backward, nearly tripping over his nightstand. Crouched among his shirts and winter coats was something impossible. The creature had blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. 4 arms were wrapped protectively around its slender body. Delicate antennae sprouted from its head, twitching nervously. But most striking were its eyes, large, pearlescent orbs that reflected the room like opals. "Please," the creature said in perfect Korean. "I mean no harm." June's bat clattered to the floor. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "I apologize for the intrusion," the creature continued, slowly unfolding itself from the wardrobe. June thought, though he wasn't sure how he knew, stood about a head shorter than him. Her movements were graceful despite her obvious tension. Who are you?" June finally managed to ask. The alien bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Neri of the Viridian Conclave, 3rd Diplomatic Representative to Solar System Sector 4B. She looked up at him with those mesmerizing eyes. "And I require asylum." June laughed nervously. "This is a joke, right? Did him put you up to this? The makeup is amazing." Nari tilted her head. "I assure you, this is no joke. Your friend Hyun is not involved." "How do you know about Hyun?" "I don't. I simply repeated the name you mentioned." June backed away until he hit his bed and sat down hard. "You're really an alien?" "Yes. And I am in grave danger." Over the next hour, as the initial shock wore off, Neri explained her situation. She had been part of a diplomatic mission to Earth, one of several monitoring the planet before official first contact. During her assignment, she had discovered corruption within the Viridian government, plans that would harm Earth. "When I voiced my concerns, my superiors tried to silence me," she explained. "I had no choice but to flee. Your dwelling seemed unoccupied during day cycles, so I took refuge here." June rubbed his temples. "Why not go to our government? Surely they'd want to know about alien visitors." "Your governments are not ready. The shock would be problematic, and my people would deny everything." As dawn approached, June's practical nature took over. "What happens now?" "You can't stay in my wardrobe forever." Neri looked uncomfortable. "There is another complication. According to Viridian custom, by discovering my hiding place without prior arrangement, you have enacted the first rite of union." "The what now?" In simple terms, Neri said matter-of-factly, "We are married." "Married?" June's voice jumped an octave. "That's ridiculous. I can't be married to an alien I just met." "The tradition dates back millennia," Neri explained. "When a Viridian seeks refuge and is discovered by a non-hostile entity, it creates a sacred bond. It's rarely invoked nowadays, but it offers certain protections I now require." June stared at the ceiling, wondering how his ordinary life had become so completely bizarre in a single night. "Look," he said finally, "you can stay until morning. Then we'll figure something out." Nari's antennae perked up. "Thank you, bond partner June." "Just June is fine," he sighed, wondering what he had gotten himself into. 3 days after finding an alien in his wardrobe, June walked into his apartment and stopped in his tracks. His living room no longer looked like it belonged in a budget Seoul apartment building. The walls shimmered with a faint blue light. His old television had been replaced with what looked like a window into space, showing stars and planets he didn't recognize. In the corner, a small fountain bubbled with purple liquid that floated upward instead of falling down. "Nari," he called out, setting down his grocery bags. "What happened to my apartment?" The blue-skinned alien emerged from the kitchen. All 4 of her arms were busy, 2 typing on a floating screen, 1 holding a strange tool, and the 4th waving in greeting. "I've made some necessary improvements," she said. "Your dwelling lacked basic security. June picked up what had been his coffee table lamp. It now pulsed with gentle light that changed color when he touched it. "Where did you get all this stuff?" Nari patted a small silver pouch attached to her belt. "Diplomatic pouch. Standard issue for all Viridian ambassadors." "But it's tiny," Jum said, watching as Nari reached into the pouch and pulled out a device the size of a microwave. "Dimensional compression," she explained, as if that clarified everything. She placed the device near his window and activated it. A shimmering barrier spread across the glass. "The enforcers will find me soon. This will hide us from their scanners." June sat down on his couch, which now felt like it was made of clouds. "I still don't understand why they're chasing you." Nari's antennae drooped slightly. "I've discovered plans to classify Earth as a resource world, stripping it of sovereign rights." June was slurping his ramen noodles and nearly choked. "They can do that?" "Yes. The Galactic Council allows advanced civilizations to claim developing worlds as resource planets if they haven't achieved certain technological milestones." Her large eyes looked sad. "Many beautiful worlds have been stripped of their resources this way. I couldn't let that happen to Earth." "But why do you care what happens to us?" Neri was quiet for a moment. "Not all Viridians agree with our government's policies. Some of us believe all sentient life deserves respect." That evening, as they ate dinner, June's kimchi jjigae, which Nari found fascinating, the news report caught their attention. Across Seoul, people were reporting strange lights in the night sky. The anchor was interviewing an astronomer who suggested it might be an unusual meteor shower. Nari's expression darkened. "Those are Viridian scout ships. They're scanning for me. Can they find you with those barriers you installed?" "Not easily, but..." A loud knock at the door cut her off. They both froze. The knock came again, more insistent. "Don't answer it," Nari whispered. A voice called through the door. "Mr. Park, we know you're home. Please open the door." June peeked through the peephole. 3 people stood in the hallway, 2 men and a woman in dark suits. They looked human, but there was something oddly perfect about their features. "They're Viridian enforcers," Nari whispered. "They use appearance modulators to look human." "What do we do?" June asked, panic rising in his voice. Nari straightened her shoulders and reached into her diplomatic pouch. She pulled out a small silver pin and attached it to June's shirt. "As my bonded partner, you are now Earth's acting ambassador," she said. "This gives you diplomatic protection under galactic law." "What? I can't be an ambassador. I fix computer bugs for a living." "You don't have to do anything yet. Just don't deny it when I introduce you." Before June could protest further, Nari pressed a button on her wrist device, and the door slid open on its own. The 3 visitors stood stiffly in the doorway. The woman in front spoke first. "Ambassador Nari, you are ordered to return to the Viridian consulate immediately." Nari stepped forward, all 4 hands clasped formally in front of her. "Enforcers, I formally introduce June Park, my bonded partner and Earth's first diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council." The enforcers' perfect faces showed identical expressions of shock. "Impossible," said one of the men. "Humans have no standing in the Council. According to Section 7 of the Interspecies Diplomatic Code, any civilization with a formally recognized ambassador gains provisional status." Nari's voice was calm but firm. "My bond with Ambassador Park is legally binding." June stood straighter, trying to look ambassadorial despite wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. The lead enforcer's eyes narrowed. "This changes nothing. You both will come with us now." "If you force us," Nari said, "it will constitute an act of aggression against a protected diplomatic mission." For a tense moment, nobody moved. Then the lead enforcer stepped back. "The conclave will hear of this, Nari." "I'm counting on it," she replied. When the door closed, Jum collapsed onto his cloud-like couch. "What just happened?" he asked. "We've bought ourselves time," Nari said, "but the real fight is just beginning." The morning after the enforcer's visit, June woke to find Neri sitting cross-legged on his living room floor. All four of her arms were moving across a floating screen displaying complex symbols and patterns that seemed to shift and change as she worked. "What's that?" June asked, pouring himself coffee. "My diplomatic access tablet," Neri replied without looking up. "I'm trying to find the official documentation of the Resource World classification plans. With proof, we could appeal directly to the Galactic Council." June sat beside her and studied the strange symbols flowing across the screen. They reminded him of mathematical equations mixed with musical notation and ancient hieroglyphics. "I don't understand these symbols," June said, squinting at the tablet. Neri nodded. "It's advanced galactic standard. No human could possibly." But June was already reaching for the tablet. His fingers moved across the interface, testing how it responded. Years of coding and debugging complex systems had given him an intuitive sense for how information systems worked, regardless of their origin. "What are you doing?" Neri asked, her antennae twitching in surprise. "This section here," June pointed to a cluster of spinning symbols. "It's a security protocol, right? It's blocking access to certain files." Neri stared at him. "Yes, but how did you?" "It's just another programming language. Complicated, but logical." June's fingers continued moving across the interface. "Every system has patterns. The symbols are different, but the structure feels familiar." Neri watched in amazement as June bypassed security measures that should have been impenetrable to anyone without centuries of galactic standard education. His approach was unlike anything she'd seen. Where a Viridian would follow established protocols, June tried unexpected pathways, sometimes failing but quickly adapting his approach. "Try this," he said after 30 minutes of work. The screen flickered and suddenly displayed thousands of documents. "How did you do this?" Neri's four hands hovered over the screen, not touching it as if afraid to break whatever magic June had worked. June shrugged. "I noticed the authentication system checks for identity but doesn't verify the pathway. So instead of trying to pretend to be you, I just made a new path." They spent the next several hours sorting through documents. June couldn't read the text, but he could identify patterns in the data structure that helped Neri find what they needed. By evening, they had uncovered the evidence. Detailed plans to designate Earth as a Class 3 resource world, scheduled for approval at the next Galactic Council meeting in 2 days. This would allow them to extract Earth's resources without restriction, Neri explained, her voice tight with anger. Humans would never even know what was happening until it was too late. June leaned back, stretching his stiff shoulders. "So what do we do now?" "We need to present this evidence to the Council." "But getting there," Neri's antennae drooped. "You mean we need to go to space?" June asked, a mixture of excitement and fear in his voice. "To the Viridian mothership in orbit around your moon, but the enforcers will be watching for us." While Neri worried over their next steps, June went to the kitchen and began preparing dinner. The familiar routine of cooking helped him think. As he chopped vegetables for kimchi jjigae, an idea formed. "What if we don't try to sneak past them?" He called to Neri. "What if we walk right through the front door?" Neri joined him in the kitchen, curious. "What do you mean? You said I'm technically Earth's ambassador now, right? So let's act like it. Ambassadors don't sneak around. They request official meetings." Neri considered this while watching June cook. The spicy smell of the stew filled the kitchen, making her antennae quiver with interest. "That could work," she said slowly. "A formal diplomatic request would be harder for them to refuse without raising suspicions." June ladled the stew into bowls and handed one to Neri. She had become quite fond of Earth food, especially June's cooking. As they ate, they refined their plan. June would send a formal request for an audience with the Galactic Council, citing his position as Earth's ambassador. The very audacity of it might work in their favor. "You know," Neri said, finishing her second bowl of stew, "in all my years of diplomatic service, I've never met anyone who approaches problems quite like you do. Is that good or bad? June asked. Good. Very good. Nari's eyes shimmered in the apartment's soft light. Humans are. Not what we expected. You're unpredictable, but in fascinating ways. June felt himself blushing under her alien gaze. We're just good at improvising. When you've got a planet full of different cultures and ideas, you learn to adapt. That adaptability might just save your world, Nari said softly. They worked late into the night, preparing their approach to the Galactic Council. With each passing hour, the strange partnership between them grew stronger, human ingenuity and alien knowledge combining to create something neither civilization had seen before. The transport beam felt like being dipped in warm honey and then gently pulled apart. When June's vision cleared, he stood in a vast docking bay inside the Viridian mothership. Ships of all sizes and shapes lined the walls, and aliens of various forms moved purposefully across the polished floor. Stay close, Nari whispered, adjusting her formal diplomatic attire. All four of her arms were adorned with silver bands of office. Your ambassador pin will protect you, but don't speak unless spoken to. June nodded, trying not to stare at everything around him. He was the first human to set foot on an alien spacecraft, at least officially. The reality of his situation hit him suddenly, making his knees weak. Are you well? Nari asked, noticing his pale face. Just processing, June replied. Yesterday I was debugging software. Today I'm on a spaceship. They passed through security checkpoints where Nari presented her credentials. The guards' eyes widened when they saw June, but no one stopped them. His formal request for a council audience, sent through Nari's diplomatic channels, had worked exactly as they'd hoped. The Viridian mothership was vast beyond imagination. Corridors stretched for kilometers, and great open spaces contained what looked like parks with alien plants. Everything gleamed with a perfect efficiency that made Earth's most advanced technology seem primitive in comparison. They entered a waiting area outside the council chambers. Several alien diplomats turned to stare at June. He stood straighter, remembering Nari's coaching on proper diplomatic posture. Ambassador Nari, a tall, silver-skinned being, approached them. The council is surprised by your return, and by your companion. This is Ambassador Park of Earth, Nari replied formally. We have urgent business with the council regarding Earth's classification status. Before the silver being could respond, the massive doors to the council chamber opened. A soft chime indicated they should enter. The Galactic Council chamber was shaped like a perfect dome. In the center stood a floating platform, while tiered seating for hundreds of representatives circled around it. Most of the seats were filled with beings of all descriptions, some humanoid, others utterly alien to human eyes. June and Nari walked to the central platform, which rose gently into the air once they were aboard. A hush fell over the chamber as the assembled representatives caught their first look at a human. Esteemed Council, Nari began, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. I come before you with evidence of corruption within the Viridian diplomatic corps. A blue-skinned Viridian male rose from his seat. Ambassador Nari comes with false accusations, shouted Councillor Ta. She abandoned her post and violated multiple protocols. Her words should not be trusted. The council murmured among themselves. June could sense the mood turning against them. I bring evidence, Nari countered calmly. She nodded to June, who connected their data device to the central console as she had shown him. The dome's interior immediately filled with floating projections, documents, communiques, and resource surveys of Earth. Each clearly showed the Viridian plan to exploit Earth without its knowledge. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the proof appeared. These are forgeries, Councillor Ta shouted, but his voice lacked conviction. All documents contain verification codes, Nari replied. The Council can authenticate them. A small, insect-like being with compound eyes leaned forward. How did you access these secured files? They appear to be from protected databases. The human assisted me, Nari replied simply. This caused even more commotion. A human accessed our secure systems, the insectoid counselor exclaimed, mandibles clicking in agitation. Impossible. June felt hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. His mouth went dry. Tai seized the opportunity, his voice dripping with contempt. See how she has compromised our security. And for what? A disgraceful union with a primitive species that hasn't even achieved basic interstellar travel. Something in Ta's dismissive tone sparked anger in June's chest. He stepped forward. Respected council members, he began, surprising himself with how steady his voice sounded. I understand I am the first human to stand before you. You may see us as primitive, but humanity has something unique to offer. Adaptability. We solve problems differently. The chamber grew quiet, curious about this strange being's words. Your systems are advanced, your technology impressive, June continued. But my people have faced countless challenges throughout our history by thinking in new ways. When Nari showed me your database, I didn't see it as impossible to access. I saw it as a puzzle waiting to be solved. He gestured to the evidence floating around them. And right now, that's exactly what your council needs, fresh eyes on old problems. The corruption we've uncovered isn't just about Earth. It's about the integrity of this entire council. A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Some nodded in agreement, others whispered urgently to their neighbors. June met Councillor Ta's furious gaze. If a primitive human can access your secure systems in a matter of hours, perhaps it's time to reconsider what primitive really means. The council erupted into debate, with representatives calling for verification of the evidence and others demanding immediate action. Through it all, Nari stood tall beside June, her antennae high with pride. What happens now? June whispered to her. Now, Nari replied softly. We wait for the council to vote. But you've done something remarkable today. You've made them listen. The council deliberated for 3 hours. During this time, June and Nari waited in a small chamber off the main council room. Neither spoke much, both understanding the weight of what was happening. Occasionally, Nari would explain fragments of debate they could hear through the walls. They're discussing Earth's technological development timeline, she whispered at one point. Some are arguing that your internet technology shows advanced networking potential. June smiled weakly. If only they knew how much time humans spend using it to share cat videos. Finally, a chime indicated they should return to the council chamber. The mood had changed. The chaotic energy of earlier had been replaced with formal solemnity. The insectoid counselor spoke first. The evidence presented by Ambassador Neri and Human Ambassador Park has been verified. Counselor Tai and 6 other Viridian officials have been detained pending further investigation. June felt Neri's hand, her lower right one, discreetly squeeze his in relief. Furthermore, the counselor continued, in light of the attempted illegal resource designation, and in recognition of humanity's unique problem-solving capabilities, the Council has voted to recognize Earth as a sovereign planet with provisional membership status. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Even those who had seemed opposed earlier now nodded in acceptance of the decision. Official first contact protocols will begin immediately, the counselor concluded. Ambassador Nari, in recognition of your service, you are appointed as the Galactic Council's liaison to Earth. Ambassador Park, you will serve as Earth's first representative to our council. June's mouth fell open. Me? But I don't know anything about galactic politics. The insectoid's compound eyes seemed to twinkle. That, Ambassador Park, is precisely why you are suited for the role. Your species sees with fresh eyes. 2 days later, June stood in his transformed apartment watching the news. Reports of mysterious diplomatic visitors were everywhere. The world's governments were scrambling to respond to the carefully orchestrated first contact that had begun that morning. Earth is handling the news better than expected, Nari observed, joining him. Your leaders have agreed to the gradual disclosure plan. People have been imagining aliens for centuries, June replied. In a way, we've been preparing for this moment through our stories. Nari nodded. The corrupt officials will face justice, she told him as they watched footage of a Viridian delegation meeting with the UN Secretary-General. Counselor Tez's network has been exposed completely. June turned away from the screen, suddenly aware that with the crisis resolved, their peculiar arrangement might be ending. "And us?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "What happens now? Do you go back to your regular diplomatic duties?" Nari looked down, her antennae dipping slightly. "About our union, I should explain something. Technically, discovering me only created a diplomatic partnership, not what humans would consider marriage." "Oh," Jun said, trying to hide his disappointment. He had grown fond of the blue-skinned diplomat with her 4 graceful arms and quick intelligence. "I didn't fully explain it before because we needed the protection it offered," she continued. "I hope you're not angry about the misunderstanding." "No, of course not," Jun said quickly. "It was a crisis situation." Neri stepped closer, her pearlescent eyes meeting his. "But," she continued with a small smile, "I find I would like to learn more about human marriage customs." Jun's heart skipped. "You would?"